blood. It was just so much blood, like everywhere. There was like a lot of places that were burned. So many family lost so many of their loved ones. I feel so guilty for not being there, for not going to the protest for myself. As much as I was happy that I left, once I left, my heart is still there.
This is Parisa, a 24-year-old Iranian-Canadian student living in France. She went back to Iran to see her family after a few years of not seeing them. The purpose of her visit was to reconnect with home. But in the final days of her trip, everything changed. Streets filled with fear, distant gunfire, phones went silent, the internet disappeared. She found herself inside a country being cut off from the world. So Parisa, when did you first realize the protests were starting? What were the first indications and how did you feel?
I'd say about 10 days, 2 weeks ago-ish, when they started closing down the stores in Bazaar of Tehran. And when my family was like, stop going there. I mean, don't go there. I hadn't been there yet, but they were told me not to go because it just didn't feel that safe anymore. And I started seeing these SWAT-looking officers in the streets almost everywhere, daily. Felt like it had become a normal thing to see them, which was weird to me because, like, how is that a normal thing in your own streets? So, yeah.
What were people's reaction during those early moments? And can you describe the general sentiment that you felt in the atmosphere?
Honestly, people were just ignoring them. I feel like, especially when they were there in the mornings, people were just acting as if they're not even there, or they were acting as if it's a normal thing, which to me, it was just surprising because how is having somebody looking like SWAT dressed up already to go to a battle normal to you? Like, how can you just walk past that and not even look at it?
How was your environment like? So the streets and the neighborhoods during those days?
So the two main neighborhoods in Tehran where I was, it was Narmak and Nizamabad, which I guess they're both very famous for this kind of stuff. In Nizamabad, I would say there wasn't that much change until, like, let's say Friday. But in Narmak, you could see the stores were closing early, a few days even before Thursday. You could see those officers everywhere. People were not okay with it. Like, well, yeah.
What were people chanting, if you can remember, at the beginning? And what were the group of protests doing exactly?
At the very beginning, let's say Thursday night, because that's honestly the beginning of a big thing to me. The biggest thing that they were chanting was Javid Shah, and there was a lot that to Khamenei. Um, and the first night, there was just so many people on the street. Like, I went to my uncle's house. I left my grandparents' house at around like 7. And normally, even with traffic, it's a 20-minute drive, right? But I went to his house and I got there at like 7:45. The taxi driver couldn't even drop me off, so I had to walk for about 10 minutes towards his place. And that 10 minutes included 9.5 minutes in the middle of the protests that were just starting because the big thing was supposed to be at 8. And people were just going around chanting, and everybody was dressed in black, and it felt like they were just getting ready for something very, very big.
How are the nights different from the days? Can you briefly walk us through a day in your life during an ongoing protest?
The nights versus the days were like a totally different thing. It felt like you were two different countries. Because I wouldn't say people had their normal lives during the day, but it felt as close as to normal as I guess it was possible. Like, some stores were open, not on Friday. On Friday, I feel like everything was closed, but like, let's say on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, more stores were open. People were going out, they were shopping. But it felt like everybody knew that they had to go home before it got dark. Like, it felt like literally the movie Purge was coming, and they just had to prepare for that. And like every store you go, and you'd be like, oh, so can I come back in the afternoon? And they'd be like, no, we close at 5 or 6. We have to go home before the big things start. And at around like maybe 6 p.m., 7 p.m. ish, it would start to feel like it was a military state. Um, the cops the SWAT looking cops, they were there, not Thursday, but I'd say as of Friday morning. They were everywhere all the times during the day, during the night. There were just more of them during the night. But then they would bring more people, and they would bring more, I don't know what they're called, like those big military cars. Um, so you feel like okay, actually I have to go home right now if I don't want to be in the middle of this protest. And it did feel really scary to go out after like 6, 7 p.m. ish.
And Parisa, emotionally, how are you holding up?
To be honest, while I was there, I don't think I felt it as much as I felt it ever since I came back. Maybe it was like a coping mechanism to get through it. Like when I was with my family, yes, like especially on Friday night after I heard about all those people who died on Thursday night, like it was less than Thursday, but the difference was the ones on Thursday, you could hear that they were like with small guns, or that they would shoot maybe five, and then maybe one of them would hit somebody, right? But the ones on Friday, um, it was like when you would hear one every minute or every like 30 seconds, but you knew that each of them would probably kill somebody. And that was the moment when I was kind of scared, and I felt really bad, and like I kind of cried, but not as much. But when I came back 2 days ago. In the morning, I was still fine. I came to school, everything was okay. Then in the afternoon, all of a sudden, I found myself crying for no reason. Like I just all of a sudden started crying. I didn't even realize I was crying, and I couldn't even stop. And yeah, ever since then, I've just been randomly crying, thinking about everything that I've seen. Thinking about the fact that okay, I'm safe now, and my family is still back there. I mean, beside my parents, every other family I've ever had is there, and I still have absolutely no news from them.
Do you think this will be a traumatic experience that will always follow you for the rest of your life?
100%. Um, Thing is, on Friday morning, we went out to take a walk on the Normac area of Tehran. Um, we heard them sending cleaning crew over the night after the protest was over to like clean the streets, I guess, like everything that was set on fire, all the glass that was broken, and all the blood that was everywhere on the floor. Yet there was still so much blood. Like every 1 or 2 meter, you'd see like blood on the floor. And thinking about, okay, that was somebody's son, that was somebody's daughter, that was somebody's parents. Like remembering all those images is just, I don't want to think about it, but then it just comes to my mind randomly.
Did you know that the government would cut the internet and do a digital blackout? How did it happen?
I guess I should have known, but no, I didn't really think about it. I mean, yes, it started getting spotty at around 6 p.m. on Thursday, like when I called my mom. I think last time I talked to them was around 8:30 p.m. on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. It was very spotty, like it kept cutting off. And then at like maybe 8:30, 9-ish, there was just no internet. But at the moment, I didn't think much of it. I was like, okay, yeah, it's the first night of the protest. It's going to come back like in a few hours. But then they cut the lines, and they cut the text. Like you couldn't call anybody. It was just like you couldn't even have any news from anybody in the country, you know?
How did this blackout affect Parisa emotionally?
Well, it made me realize that our phones have no use when there's no internet on them. But emotionally, for me personally, it was more the fact that my parents had absolutely no news from me. And when my first flight got canceled, they couldn't know because I made a mistake of not sending them my flight information prior to this. So they didn't know what flight I was taking exactly. So all I could think about was, okay, how is my mom doing? How is she gonna find out like when I'm getting out of this country? Or how is she gonna even know that if I am getting or if getting out or if I'm okay? So the hardest part of it for me was thinking about my parents, because yes, last time they cut the connections, I was at the other side of it. I was in Canada with my parents. Um, we didn't know what was going on with our family back home. But this time, I was the one with the family, and my parents were the ones who had no idea what was going on, and that's all I could think about.
How do you feel like others felt during this blackout?
The people around me, at least, I don't know if they were trying to keep up the morale for me or they were just, it kind of felt like they were used to it. Like to them, this kind of living, the government cutting off the internet, doing all of this had become such a normal thing because it has been done so much that I guess they're at the point where they're like, okay, what can we do about it? Like it just felt like a normal thing to them.
When the internet goes dark, the world goes quiet. But the silence doesn't mean peace. It means stories aren't reaching us. It means voices are being erased. What you don't see doesn't stop happening. And while the world scrolls forward, people inside Iran are still living in this reality. And how were people communicating with each other? Were the domestic lines working?
Nope. Well, actually, yes, we didn't try it on Thursday, but we tried it, I think, on Friday or Saturday. The domestic ones were kind of working, but every night from like around 8 p.m. until like 2, 3 a.m., almost everything was cut off. You couldn't call anybody, basically. And there was no text going through since Thursday, 8 p.m. either. The only text that were going through was the ones coming from them telling people not to go to the protest or telling people keep your kids at home or like inviting them to the one they organize themselves on Sunday afternoon.
And do you feel like what was being shown really depicted what was going on in Iran?
No, it was 100 times worse. So much worse than what has been in the media. I have some videos myself, but I don't even think the ones that I have, because I couldn't film everything, to be honest with you. And I cannot share everything either, because some of them include my family members and them who are still in Iran, and I would not dare share those. Um, but even the videos that I have, I don't think they show the reality. The reality is so much worse than what's actually what has gotten out of the country in terms of news.
How much information were Iranians able to gather from the outside world during this time? What did you think was going on everywhere else regarding Iran?
I feel like all the information they were gathering was, I mean, except the people who had Starlink, I guess. Everyone else, it was from channels like BBC Farsi or Iran International. Whatever they were sharing is whatever we were getting because there was absolutely no other way. Um, and in terms of the rest of the world, I mean, the rest of the world, it feels like the governments are doing something, but like a prime minister of a country coming and saying that, oh, our hearts is with you guys and we condemn this is not gonna do much. Like I have worked in the Canadian government for like over 3 years, and as much as I love Canada and I think the democracy in Canada is amazing, I just don't think only talking is enough. And as a Canadian, I don't think they're doing enough either in terms of action.
Was there a moment that you felt truly trapped or afraid that you can recall?
Yes, the second they told me my flight got canceled, I went to the airport all ready, all happy. I remember the day before, I put a countdown on my phone thinking, okay, in this many hours, I'm going to have internet. I'm going to call my mom. I'm going to get out of here. Like, as much as I love my country, I could not wait to get out of there. And we get to the airport and they're like, oh, your flight is canceled. And that's it. No other information. I'm like, is there any way I could at least call somebody outside, ask them to book me another flight? They're like, no, we don't have any way for you to do that. And I went around, I asked a few companies that were there, like if they had any seats on their flights, and they all said no, we're full. I was at the point where I was like, I don't even care where the flight goes, as long as it's outside of this country. If it wants to go to China, if it wants to go to, I don't know, Dubai or anywhere, I just wanted to get out. And there was absolutely no seats. And that was the moment that I felt my worst. I was able to get a flight for the day after, but the time between my flight got canceled and the time until I got to my next flight, until my next flight landed in Istanbul. I like not even until the moment I was in it, because up until the moment they opened the doors in Istanbul, I kept thinking, what if it goes back? What if for whatever reason they send this flight back to Tehran? And that's the moment that I felt the most trapped.
And are you able to share with us some of the unbelievable things that you've seen?
Um, so one of them was the sin with the blood. When like we went out on Friday morning, no matter how much I say there was so much blood, it was just so much blood, like everywhere. We walked for like I think an hour, and there was just blood, quite literally everywhere. And there was like a lot of places that were burned, and some of them were still burning after 2 days. To be fair, I didn't see anything that they burned that belonged to people. Everything that they burned belonged to the government, so I'm happy about that. But one of the, I guess, worse for that person, but one of the nicest thing that I saw was that on the first night, um, people who were protesting, they found this guy who was one of the undercover cops filming people so that they can recognize them later. They figure out he's an undercover cop. So they started kicking him, and they kicked him so much. It was to the point where he couldn't even move anymore. And they burned his motorcycle after. The next day when we went downstairs, you could see like the traces of blood where he put his hands on the floor. You could see his phone, like the parts of his phone that were everywhere, the parts of his motorcycle that were everywhere. To be honest, I don't know if he's alive or not, because they were kicking him for a long time. And as much as this might make me sound like a bad person, it did make me happy, because to me, he was a traitor to everybody else in his own country. And at some point, some other undercover cops came and took him, but I don't know if he was alive or not.
Has anyone you know or anyone you know of lost a loved one?
I could tell you almost every family in Tehran, at least, like that's where I was, knows somebody or have lost somebody. I haven't been in Iran for like 12 years, yet I know two people who died, two people who got arrested, another one who was injured. One of my uncle's friends, he was maybe 20, I think, or 21, he told me. He got shot in the head the first night. And another one of the my cousin's friend, who they go to school together. I don't think she was more than 17, because my cousin is around that age. So she also got shot in the head. She also died. And those are just the examples I know, like I heard about from my immediate family. Like everybody else, like everybody that you talk to, either had somebody who was arrested or had somebody that had died.
And how did that make you feel, seeing so many of your fellow Iranians in the same city as you starting to lose their lives one by one and get shot at, and then seeing their blood on the streets the very next day?
I mean, how would that make anybody feel beside the Iranian government? Like, it felt unreal. Like, I couldn't believe that I was actually seeing that with my own eyes. Like, I genuinely felt like I'm watching this over Instagram, over the reels, because it was my first time being in Iran while something like this was happening. Every other time, I was watching it from my phone. Um, and every time I thought I understood what was going on, but I don't think anybody can actually understand how hurtful and how bad the situation is there unless they actually see it uh, by themselves. Like, no matter how much the Iranians who are outside of the country right now, they try to sympathize with them, I just think it's impossible. Like, I thought I did, but seeing it in person, it was to the point where I can't even describe how it made me feel.
What would you like those watching this to know about the people that were attacking the civilians, so the Basijis and the Sepahis?
Um, that there are a bunch of hungry people who would do anything for just as little as $7, 7 US dollars, which is like 1 million real. And I guess in their mind, the way they were justifying it, I would assume, is that they're doing it for God. But they're just some people that I don't think even using the word people is right. They're just a bunch of animals who, for somehow, are capable of doing all of this without feeling guilty about it. Because how can somebody just go out there, kill hundreds of people, of his own people? Not even like, this is not even a war between two countries. This is literally your own people. Like, the people that you're killing is either your friend or your friend's friend, because that's it's within the country. So I just can't understand how is that even possible.
And this extreme violence that was met with these protests, how did it make Iranians feel? Did you notice a shift in momentum?
I'd say yes, it did make them stronger, but I feel like at some point people were just so scared or so tired of everything. Like, on Thursday night, there was so many people. There were like hundreds of thousands of people that I saw, at least. I'm sure there were, like, from the videos that I've seen, there were so many other people in other areas. On Friday, there were still a lot of people, but around where I was on Saturday and Sunday, I heard there were a lot of crowd in other parts of Tehran, but like where I was, there was barely anybody. And I just feel like it was because people were so scared, and so many of them lost a lot of their loved ones. Like, there are so many, those papers when, like, in Iran somebody dies and they put like those little flyers on the walls of like, oh, this person died, blah blah blah. But like Saturday, Sunday morning, there were just so many of them everywhere that it kind of felt like there was no one else to go out. So I don't know if people in those areas were just tired or they were just so scared. But it felt like there was less of them. That being said, there were still people coming out and chanting from their windows, from their balconies. Like on Saturday night, there's a mosque around mosque. I don't know how to say it exactly in English. Anyways, there's one of those around near my uncle's house, and around like 11:30 p.m. ish, for some reason, they started putting this religious stuff on their speakers, like everybody could hear them, and all of a sudden, people were coming out from their windows, from their balconies, chanting anti-regime slogans or like Javid Shah or that kind of stuff. And that felt really heartwarming, because like after 15 minutes, the mosques, they stopped their religion stuff and people were still chanting for like another hour, and that was like at midnight. So I guess even though a lot of them didn't go out after the first few days, they were still trying to fight.
So Parisa, tell us, what was the process of leaving like for you emotionally and having to say goodbye to your people in that state?
To be honest, I was really happy that I was leaving, because I mean, yes, Iran is my country. Yes, my family is there and I love them, but my life was outside and my parents are outside. More important than anything else, the people that I needed to talk to the most, the people who needed to know that I'm alive the most were outside. So thinking about the fact that I was going to be able to call them and tell them that hey, I'm still here, that made me really happy. Especially, I mean, when I got to Istanbul and I called my mom, she was crying. She told me she had tried every channel she could. Like, she even went to like a few embassies in Canada trying to like ask them, beg them to call us in Iran. So that made me really happy. That being said, once I was out, I realized that I cannot talk to my family back home. Especially my uncle, who I know goes to every single one of those protests, and I know he's kind of on the front line of them. That makes me really scared. Thinking about, okay, what if something has happened to him in the past few days and I have absolutely no idea. So as much as I was happy that I left, once I left, my heart is still there.
Did part of you think that things may never be the same the next time you come visit Iran?
Every part of me thought things are never going to be the same. Every single time that I go to Iran, things feel different. This time was the most different one of them. And like, how can it be the same after so many family lost so many of their loved ones? Honestly, every single part of me thought that, okay, this is never going to be the country that I remember from when I was 10, from when I was like 5, 6, whatever. I'm just really hoping that it's for a good cause and that, yes, things are not going to be the same, but I'm hoping that they're going to be better.
So based off everything you've seen, Parisa, has this experience changed you as a person? And if so, how?
Definitely. I'm going to be honest, every other time there were protests going on in Iran, I've never posted anything about it before. I was always silent on my social media and everywhere. Um, some of them was because, well, of the jobs that I had in Canada. Some of them was because I was thinking, okay, I want to go back to that country. I don't want to risk it. And then once I got out this time, I was like, there is absolutely no way that this is right. And there's absolutely no way that I can ever go back there, no matter how much I want to, unless there's a big change. So for the first time ever, I started posting about it and I started posting everything. I even like made a video myself before this explaining what I saw. And I think the way that I understand what's going on there, or what basically goes on in every other country when there is an issue like this, is so much different from the understanding that I had before.
What do you want people outside of Iran to truly understand about what's going on?
That you don't need to be Iranian to support this, to share this. You just need to be human, and that innocent people are dying, and it's not like 5 or 10 of them. I mean, even if it were 5 or 10, they were still somebody's child. It was important, but they are killing half of the population at this point. And I don't know how, but there has to be a way to put a stop to this. And that's what I'm trying to get out there, like asking everybody to find a solution for it.
And for my final question, as you've seen, and we on the outside got a small glimpse of, people in Iran are fighting for freedom and they're paying for it with their lives. And the courage they've shown us is truly unimaginable. If you could give everyone in Iran a message, what would it be?
That we love you and that we're doing everything we can. Everything we can from here. I mean, I feel so guilty for not being there, for not going to the protest by myself. But we're doing everything we can from here. And I really, really hope to talk to them soon.
This story is not just about what happened, it's about what continues. About voices that were meant to disappear, but didn't. About people who speak, even when they know the cost. Awareness is not enough. Silence helps no one. As long as these stories are shared, as long as they are heard, the darkness will not win. This is one voice, one story, and the world needs to listen.